24 past the hour this morning, new escalations in President Trump's immigration crackdown as he marks 4 weeks back in office. Here's what White House border czar Tom Homan had to say about the pace of immigration arrests.
I'm not happy with the numbers because we got a lot of criminals to find. So what we're talking about right now, we're increasing the number of teams, increase the targeting. We got to do more, and I've been real clear on that, and that's why we're making the operational changes now that I've requested.
This as the Justice Department fired multiple immigration judges, despite a backlog of around 3.5 million pending cases. Joining us now, NBC's Julia Ainsley and Alan Orr, an immigration attorney and past president of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. So, Julia, immigration backlogs were up about 44% between the end of fiscal 2023 and 2024. Why are these judges being fired now?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, you look at that over 3 million cases pending. Those cases have to be adjudicated by these judges. But look, the judges they chose, it's no accident here. These were all appointed by the Biden administration. I think something we have to explain is that the immigration courts don't work in the same way that they do from other courts that we see across this country. They're actually an executive branch function. They all run under the Justice Department. So it's perfectly within the purview of the Justice Department to fire people who might have been appointed from another administration and hire new people, especially if they want judges who might be more strict on asylum or other things. But the thing is those numbers, Jose, it's hard to get around that, especially because it has historically been so hard to hire enough immigration judges. Sometimes they'll bring over people who used to be prosecutors from ICE. Sometimes people will join out of law school, but it's a hard thing to get into, mainly because the dockets are so long, the pay's not great, and it's hard for them to ever really get above that 300, 340 number of immigration judges. Just under the previous Trump administration, it was around 280. The union has said they need more judges. It's a long process. It's hard to get. So while politically this might make sense, logistically, this really sets the Trump administration back if they want to clear that backlog and get more people with final orders of deportation, which is exactly what Tom Homan says they're trying to get to.
Yeah, I mean, Alan, with your long expertise and your view of history, what do you make of this? And as Julia says, I mean, you know, every administration has the right to do, in the case of these immigration judges, to take them out if they were put in by the previous administration. But what do you make of this?
So I don't think that's necessarily the case, because we've never seen this before in any other administration where there's been this number of judges removed that were already approved. So they'd already been through the messenger sort of stage and they were ready to sort of take the bench. So you can't say that they were doing anything on cases because their cases had not been adjudicated. So there's no way to make a valid opinion about them other than they were appointed by the former president. In addition to that, they removed a lot of leadership, one of them being Carrie Dole, who's a very experienced immigration litigator, both inside the government and outside the government, who is sort of leading some of these cases. The national approval rate for asylums under the Biden administration was at 36%, which was down from 50% before. So sort of saying removing these judges and then at the same time asking Congress for more money to hire additional judges sends a very confusing message about you really being serious about enforcement. And so that's what the story is right now. In immigration right now, due process and humanity is under attack. And what we're doing is not sort of meeting the needs of the people by saying we want more judges, but we're going to fire these judges, because now I don't know anyone who wants to be an Article 2 judge, because you can be removed by the legislature. We were already very much in front of the court saying we need them to be in Article 3 like the Supreme Court, so we won't have to worry about this in the future. And so they have autonomy over the justice to these humanitarian cases.
Yeah, I mean, and Alan, 3.6 million cases, that's a backlog. I mean, how long does that take on a regular, fiscal year?
So in a regular fiscal year, you're looking about 4 to 5 years for an asylum case, and that's not even speaking about the new asylum cases that are going to be filed by the end of TPS. So it's really bad management and bad planning.
And Alan, meanwhile, President Trump posted on Truth Social yesterday about the 14th Amendment. He wrote, in quote, "Never had anything to do with modern-day gate crashers, illegal immigrants who break the law by being in our country. It had everything to do with giving citizenship to former slaves." Alan, does the 14th Amendment language specifically state who can or cannot get citizenship through birthright?
It does not. And this has been clearly established by all the courts, whether they were appointed by a conservative or not. I don't understand. This is sort of a shot in the dark to try to get Congress to maybe change this or have a constitutional convention to sort of move this forward. But this is sort of the weak undergirdings. And in Black History Month, it's sort of unsettling to me to hear him sort of make these sort of claims, because the Constitution isn't about just one group of people. It's about who we are. And that's why the Constitution is under attack right now for these fundamental rights that are proven to everyone. You saw Tom Homan go on CNN yesterday and say that he wanted to go after AOC for telling people what their rights were, regardless of what their status is in the country. That's something that's protected under the First Amendment. So we see this problematic implementation of the Constitution. These are shared values under attack under this administration, specifically in immigration.
Julie Ainsley and Alan Orr, thank you so much.